Alright guys, so I didn't really want to do this, but the car is on jack stands, it's on ramps, it's going to sit in the garage for a week now. I was driving it to work, and I don't know if it's just because of the big trip, but when I got back, I noticed there was oil spots on the driveway. I've never had a Mustang. I've had 7 Mustangs, and all of them never leaked oil, and this one is leaking oil, and I know where it's leaking at. It's, I have the part over here. Went ahead and bought some oil, and then bought this gasket. Apparently this is a common problem. The housing for the oil filter, I guess the filter's gone bad and it's leaking from there. I thought it was the oil filter, and I just did some research online. Put the oil filter on there, it wasn't leaking. The car wasn't leaking when I left. I made sure everything was tightened up. I don't know if just the long drive or just the oil filter's old, but you know, cars do wear and tear after you're driving them. So I did buy that oil filter. It was like $18. I called a shop seeing if they could just do it for me, and it's gonna cost like $500. So I was like, I'm not gonna drop $500. I'm just gonna go buy the gasket and do it myself. It's really not that hard, but from what I can see, it's not leaking. I thought it was the oil pan gasket, but it only leaks when I drive it, and it leaks up here near this wheel well. And you really can't see it right now, but down there, you really can't see it at all. But under there, the oil filter is on a housing, just a metal housing, and it's connected. There's another hose that goes to the coolant that goes into the block. So I have bought some clamps. I'm gonna clamp that off, see if it'll keep the coolant out. I'm gonna get a bucket, and if the coolant does come out, just put some more coolant in it. But I'm gonna get to doing that. It's a really common problem. I've looked up videos, but I haven't seen any detailed videos. I got under there and it doesn't look that hard. But I'm gonna try to do that and try to make this video as like descriptive as possible, like really get into it, just so if y'all do run in the same problem, y'all can fix it and just watch my video. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm not gonna rush this because I have work in a couple hours, so I'm just gonna take my time. I already let the oil out, so I let all the oil out. There was probably only about 4 quarts in there, so it's leaked quite a bit. So it is a pretty big leak. That's why the only reason I haven't been driving the car. So I'm gonna get under there, start working on it, and kind of show you what I'm. All right, guys. So you can kind of tell what I'm talking about. So all that oil has been leaking from this housing. It holds this oil filter on, and then this big long hose right here goes into the housing right there, and that is just the housing for the oil filter. And then apparently they put the coolant line through that housing, so that's kind of sucks, but that's where the coolant goes into the block from. So I'm guessing there's coolant in the block, but I'm gonna clamp that off and see what it does. I'll just have to take this oil filter off, take that hose off, and then there's, I don't know if you can see that bolt right there, and then the oil sensor. There's like 3 or 4 bolts on there that I have to take that housing off. I can't really get in there, but you can kind of tell, you kind of see what I'm talking about. It's just that big metal housing. I might replace the oil sensor while I'm down here, while I'm taking everything off, just to do it, because, you know, it's just preventative maintenance. But you can see what I'm talking about with all this oil. I thought it was the power steering pump, but I looked up here and there's oil dripping off the oil filter. So you can see where it's slung up in my tire. It's all in my wheel. That's why I thought it was the oil pan, but me driving, it's not going to come all the way up here if there's an oil leak in a rear main seal. So I'm kind of glad it's not the oil pan, because you got to lift the whole engine up to take the oil pan off, because the cross member blocks it from coming out. So that's a plus. So I'm going to start taking these hoses off. Take the filter off first and get all the oil out, because I already have all that oil out right there. I'm going to attempt to take this hose off. I just don't want it to be leaking and cooling out when I open it up, because I only have so much room under here. But I'm going to get to doing that, and then I'll show you kind of the little process of it. Alright guys, so I tried to clamp the hose off, but I guess there was still coolant in the engine block. Just went in this bucket. This is the only bucket I could find in a hurry, because I missed a bolt in the center, and I don't know if I can get it, but it's right on top in the center under here. I see it, but I didn't see it, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come off. And I found that nut, and I was able to get a small socket with a swivel to get it in there, and I got it off. But I had to run and get a actual bucket, because I didn't realize all this coolant was going to come out, you know, even though I knew it was on the engine block. But I tried clamping it off right there, and
it helped a little bit, but not a whole lot.
So I'm gonna let that drain out. I got this actual beanie because I was struggling to hold a flashlight on there, and my father-in-law bought me this, so I just had it in my closet, never used it, and I started using it. It works a lot better because where you're looking at, that's where the light's going. But I got it. I'm getting all the coolant, and I'm gonna let all that leak out, and then actually gonna try to replace the filter, or not the filter. He won't say filter. I'm gonna let all that out, and I'm gonna replace that gasket. They said to get some flow pad and kind of scrub it down and make it clean again because it is aluminum. I have some in my toolbox. I'm gonna use that, and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing because a lot of the videos I've seen aren't detailed or show you all the bolts you need to take out or even the process of the coolant part because I had no idea. So I got the actual gasket off, and the other one I have is red. This one's blue. I don't see any damage on the gasket, so I mean, I'm not sure what happened. I hope that's where my leak's coming from because I'd be wasting a bunch of time replacing this. But I'm gonna try getting close onto it. I really don't see any failures in it, like any cracks or spots where it could have came out. And any coolant leaking out of it, so this wasn't bad right here. But the ring doesn't feel like it has any frays in it. I mean, I'm really not sure what happened, but hopefully this is my problem. If it's not, then it's got to be like the pan, because it was the only spot that had a bunch of oil by it, so I'm assuming it's this. So I'm gonna replace it, put it all back together. I have some coolant in here, so I'm gonna dilute that and put some extra more coolant in it after or I guess burp it after I put the coolant in. But yeah, this was kind of, that's the hole I was talking about. I couldn't see it. I only seen these 3 holes. And on there, you can't see this because it's up here. And the oil filter is right here. So it's behind that filter and it's kind of hard to get to, but I was able to get to it with one of my extensions. So yeah, that was like the only tricky part. But I'm gonna reinstall this. It's not that hard. Just get a Brillo pad, scrape it up a little bit, put the new gasket back on, and then you should be good to go. So that is what you're going to be looking at after you get that oil filter assembly thing off. That big hole is for the coolant. Those 2 holes for the oil filter. You can see there's still coolant coming out of it. But all you do, I just hit it with the Brillo pad a little bit, kind of scuff it up a little bit, get all the old stuff off of it. Put the new gasket on, put the next bolts in. That bolt right there, that one right in the center is the hardest one to get to, so just be on the look for that whenever you're doing it. Wasn't too hard once I found it, but might be tricky getting it back in there because I have all this stuff in front of me, so you don't have a lot of room to work on it. I have my car on ramps. It'd be easier if it was on a lift, but this is all I got. I'm gonna put the gasket back on and then put it all back together, put some oil in it, like I'm changing the oil again, and put some coolant in it, and it should be good to go. Hopefully it doesn't leak, but this is where it looks like where the oil was coming, because there's a little bit of oil on the headers, and I thought it was the pan gasket, but this seemed like what it was. So this is the one that I'm putting on. It looks identical. You always want to check your parts before you put something on, but I already know this is the correct one. That's the part number, and it does say 281 4.6 or the 5.4 engines 97 through 03. It says that, but it's the same part. It works on every single 4.6, every single 5.4. So just because it says that doesn't mean, if you look up the part number for your car, it's going to come to this. I don't know why they put the dates like that, but they were probably failing and they still fail. So yeah, that's the part we're going to put on there. We're going to get it all changed up together and it'll be good to go. All right, guys. So I went ahead and took this oil pressure sensor off. Wanted to clean it up, put some new Teflon tape on it, or pipe tape, whatever you want to call it. It has like a bevel on it, so it looks like it seats into something, so I wasn't too worried about really getting it all that good. But just so I don't have to go back under there again and this is leaking, I got this one step done. So I went ahead and did the extra step and did this. I'm already under there anyways. And if you are too, go ahead and do it, because I looked up pictures to make sure they put tape on it, and they do. And this one had no tape on it whatsoever, so this might have been my oil leak. I hope it's not, because I just did all that work for nothing. But oh well. I mean, I got a new gasket on there in this, so yeah, I'm gonna get back to it, get it all done, kind of show you all the finished product, and that's really all I have for this video. Alright guys, so I got the oil in the car. You can kind of see how much oil just burned or leaked. So that's 4.5 quarts that I just took out of the car, and whenever I get an oil change I put 6 quarts in it. So it's leaked or burned 1.5 quarts. I'm pretty sure this car burns a little bit of oil, but it doesn't burn that much, so I'm guessing it probably leaked around 1/2 quart. So like I said, I put Teflon on that oil pressure sensor because there was none on it, so that might have been my case where it was leaking. But I went ahead and did the whole gasket because I'm already under there, so it's no big deal. And I really thought it was the gasket at first, and I'm starting to think it wasn't the gasket because the gasket does not look bad at all. You can kind of look at it. I mean, it looks brand new. The engine was just rebuilt, so all the gaskets and everything were changed, so this is brand new. I mean, not brand new, but probably has like 10-15,000 miles on it. It doesn't look, used at all. It looks brand new. So that's why I think it was that pressure sensor now, because that looks fine to me. And I think this is going to be the end of my video. I'm going to start the car tomorrow because I got to put coolant in it. I don't feel like doing that right now. It's already late. It's like 11 o'clock at night. So if you like watching this video, or this helped you with your oil leak on, I guess, any Ford with 4.6 or 5.4, this is more towards a Mustang 3-valve, so if it helped you, please leave a like, leave a comment, and if you aren't already, please subscribe. Peace, guys.